Hello everyone. I'm here again to show you the next step that we're going to take in doing your science fair project. So today we're going to be talking about how to narrow down to one topic and how to think of a question for that one topic. Yesterday, if you remember, we looked at how can you make a web, a word web maybe, of all the different things that you're interested in, and that was to help us get started. And I made this word web yesterday, but I'm going to do something just to show you that you don't have to stick to the same word web. This word web was a tool. And if you came up with a good idea in this word web, then that's great, and you should go ahead and use it. But if while you were sleeping last night after you made this word web, you were like, oh, I didn't even think about this idea. This isn't even on my word web. That's okay. You can use that idea too. This was not to lock you into something. This was just to help you come up with an idea. So if you came up with a better idea without this, that's great. So for today, we are going to look at how to narrow this down. Now, if you came up with a really good idea and that's your number one choice here, then you could go ahead and use that. But what I'm going to look at today is I'm going to say, I think I came up with a better idea because I noticed that you can make a battery out of a potato. And I think that is really cool to make a battery out of a potato. But this is just like a volcano. This gives me instructions for how to make a battery out of a potato. It tells me exactly what to do. And if I do exactly what it says, then it's going to light up this light bulb. So is that a good science fair experiment? You should know by now. No, it's not a good science fair experiment because I already know exactly what to do. But I also noticed that you can make a battery out of just salt water. You put the wires in the salt water and you can still light up a battery. So the same thing, it's going to tell me exactly how to do it. If I understand and follow all the directions, it's going to light up the light bulb. I know what's going to happen. So is this a good science fair experiment? No, because I already know what's going to happen. So, but this made me start thinking, well, I wonder what other vegetables you can make a battery out of. And look, this tells me potatoes, onions, tomatoes, they all conduct electricity quite well. So maybe you could use any of these things. Maybe instead of using the potato in this example, I could use a tomato or an onion. And then it tells me citrus fruits work really well. And it gives me a list of things that might work: apples, grapefruit, oranges, lemons, limes, and you can even make circuits out of it. So this gets into even more stuff. But what if I used an orange instead of a potato? So what we're going to do today, and I'm going to link this down in the description, down below the video. I'm going to link this page because this is kind of a long, you could type in this much of the address and it would take you here, but it's kind of a long description. So I'm going to link it down below the video for you and you can find the link there. But this place lets us make a KWL chart. And you may have heard of KWL charts. It means what do I know, what do I want to know, and what did I learn? Well, we're going to adapt it just a little bit because we haven't learned anything yet. Well, we did learn that you can perhaps make a battery out of other things, but we haven't really learned anything on our own. We just learned something by reading things. So we're going to adapt this just a little bit. We're not going to make a KWL chart. We're kind of going to make a KWW chart. I'll show you what I mean in just a minute. But just like yesterday, this website has pricing. You can sign up for it. You can pay for it. You can make an account here. But again, we don't have to. We can just go in and make a KWL chart. The first thing I want to do, what I know is fine, and what I want to know, just so that we remember what we're doing with a science fair, I'm going to say, instead of what I want to know, I'm going to change these words. Oops, that wasn't the right thing. I think I have to double click it. Yeah. I'm going to change these words to say, question I want to answer. And I'm going to change the size here just so it fits a little better. There we go. That's perfect. Okay, and then instead of what I learned, I'm going to put, how can I answer the question? But I'm just going to put that just because that fits. So what we're going to do today is, see, these little post-it notes are really cool. I'm going to drag a post-it note over here. And the first thing I know from my topic, I'm going to put up here for topic. I'm going to drag another text out here. And I'm going to double click, and for topic, I'm going to put making a battery from everyday things. And I probably have to drag this out. I can do that, but I can drag this back up. Okay, so my topic is going to be making a battery from everyday things. Your topic might be making a volcano. Remember, making the volcano in itself is not a good science fair idea, but you could put that for your topic. Making a battery from everyday things is not a good science fair idea, except to get me started on what I can do to make this volcano, or to make this battery. Your topic might be playing basketball. Your topic might be baking a cake. Your topic might be making a motor. There's just tons of things. Whatever you came up with on your word web from yesterday is your biggest idea, or another great idea that you had today. It's fine to go with a different idea that you had today. So we are going to go from here and do what I know about making a battery from everyday things. Well, you know what I found out? I'm going to double click here, and I found out that you can make a battery from a potato. I also found out that you can make batteries from tomatoes, onions, oranges, salt water, and much more. I also found out that you can use these items to light a light bulb. And remember, I even found instructions for how to do this online. So I know all these things. Well, if I know all these things, what is some questions I could answer about that? So I could answer, which works better? A potato or an orange? And let me give you a hint. If you want to make life easy for this science fair and you're not worried so much about exactly what you want to do, then think about the things you have at home. Out of all these things, if you don't have a potato at home, but you have an onion at home and you have a grapefruit at home, then why not put those two things? Which works better, an onion or a grapefruit? You could also use a question like, can I light 2 light bulbs with 1 potato? That is a question. It works, but it's going to be a very simple question, and there's not going to be much you can do. You're going to hook up 2 light bulbs and see if it works, and if it does, great, and if it doesn't, it doesn't, and that's the end of your science fair experiment. So a better question than that might be, some of these are big, and we don't want the big ones. A better question than that might be, how many light bulbs can I light with 1 potato? And another question might be, oops, I didn't mean to put it up there. Remember to double click. Does the size of the potato change how many light bulbs it will light? As in, does a small potato light less light bulbs? If I use a giant baking potato, will that let me light up a bunch of light bulbs, or does it not matter? Is a potato just a potato and it lights up how many? And then you could get into complicated questions like, I'm going to try to get some more room here. Then you could get into complicated questions like, what happens if I use 2 potatoes and make a circuit. And you may have to look up what a circuit means if you were going to do that question. But I have plenty of questions here. The thing here is to make a list of all the things that you know. If you picked a topic that you know a lot about, you may already be able to put a lot of these things. But if you picked a topic that you find interesting but you don't know a lot about, you may have to go back and read. Like I went to websites to find some of this information, and you may have to go back and read to find things you can put here for what you know. But then once you have these ideas for what you know, go ahead and put a bunch of questions that you can answer. But here's the thing. We don't want a science fair project that tries to answer 500 questions. That sounds great. It sounds like, oh, that person put a lot of work into it. They're answering 500 questions. We only want to answer one question at a time. Part of the reason for that is it's really a bad thing to try to answer more than one question at a time, because if we try to answer more than one question at a time, we may get confused as to, are we answering this question or are we answering this question? And we may not really know the answer to that question in the end. So we want to pick one of the questions and answer just one of the questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a shape here. I'm going to pick a circle, and I'm going to put a circle around the question that I really think I want to answer the most. Like I said, this one, it's a good starter, and I wanted to write the question on there, but I don't think it's going to make a good science fair experiment. It's going to be too short, too yes or no, that's it, it's over, it's done. So I don't want to use that one. I'm going to rule that one out. I could do how many light bulbs can I light with one potato, but you know what I really like? I really like this one. Does the size of the potato, and it doesn't have to be a potato, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to make this circle this. Once you get it to this size, once you get it to the size that fits, okay, I'm going to put the circle here. While I have the circle clicked, I'm going to click this settings panel, and I'm going to go to style, and under style, I'm going to click where it says fill. Right now it's filled white, but I want it filled transparent. That means there's no color to the fill. So now I can see through it. But then just to point out that this is the one I want, I'm going to go to, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you what it was. I'm going to go to where it says line, and I'm going to change this to red just to make it stand out more. And where it says 1 point, I'm going to make it thick. I'm going to change it to 10. And notice now I have a really nice circle around the one I like. This is the question that I like for today. I'm going to close that back up. I'm going to close that back up so that I have more room. So this is the question that I like, but then I need to think about, can I really answer this question? Is there something I can do to answer this question? And yes, there is. I'm going to actually grab one of these. I thought this was a bigger one. I guess not. I'm going to actually grab one of these, and I'm going to type, can I answer this question? Well, yes, I can, because what I could do is I can get different size potatoes and several light bulbs and check each potato to see how many light bulbs I can connect, and the potato will still light up the bulbs. I will record the size of the potato, probably in inches. If you have a scale, you could also, I might also record the weight of each potato. And I will record the number of light bulbs that potato will light up. Now, this made me think of another question with this. I wonder, let's make it bigger so that the words fit inside of it the best we can. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. That's good enough. Okay, this made me think of another question that we could have done, is we could have tested different kinds of light bulbs. Will it light a regular light bulb? Will it light an LED light bulb? We could have tested different kinds of light bulbs like that and see what would happen if we did different kinds of light bulbs. But for now, this is the question that I'm going to stick with, and this is the way that I'm going to answer that question. Now, one last thing that I wanted to show you before I left for the day is I wanted to show you an idea for how you can know if you're having a good science fair project. And this is an idea for teachers. If teachers are watching this, I will link to this rubric also, and you can actually just use this rubric. The cool thing about this rubric is if I change the answers, if I say no here, notice it goes ahead and grades it and it changes. So if for teachers, you could use this for a grade. But for students, even if your teacher is not using this, this is a good thing for you to do and start out with everything is no. And as you go through the science fair, as you go through your science fair project, you can go through here and check, did you brainstorm many topics that might work for you? Well, you did that yesterday, so you could type yes in here. And now you have 6.7 for your grade, but that's just for you if your teacher's not doing this. Did you narrow down your topics to just one topic? Well, if you do that today, you could change this to a yes. Did you create a question about your topic? Yes, I just made a question about my topic. Did you make a prediction? Now that's what we're going to start working on tomorrow. So for today, this is as far as we can go. But right now, we could look at this and we could know, hey, if my teacher was using this rubric, I would be getting a 20 already. And I haven't even done all this stuff yet. But so far, I'm already getting a 20. But the thing is that if you can answer yes to all of these questions, you would know, regardless of whether your teacher is using this for a grade, you would know that you have a really good science fair project if you answer yes to all of these questions. And you also can look at it and say, well, if there's a question that I can't answer yes to, I need to go fix that. I need to make it so that I can say yes to that question. And that will make sure you have a really good science fair project. I will link this down below the video too. But for today, the main thing that you need to do is to come up with all the things you know, decide on your topic, put your topic at the top, come up with all the things you already know, even if you have to go look up some things about this topic, come up with all the things you already know, then brainstorm a bunch of questions and decide on the question you like best. And again, you may decide on the question you like best based on what you have at home so that you're not having to run to Walmart at midnight on a certain time and get that at the last minute. Don't wait until the last minute to do it, but go ahead and think of the question that you already have things at home. You don't have to go spend money on it. You can just use the things you already have at home. In my case, I would have to go buy some extra light bulbs because I don't have extra ones. But I probably could come up with some different size potatoes already without having to go buy that. So think of the thing that you can do without having to buy extra things. And then once you decide on a question, then think about, can I really answer this question? Now, if you have picked a question, but you just cannot come up with an idea for what to go over here, it may mean this is a good question, but you're not going to be able to do it. So maybe go try to pick a different question and see if you can come up with something to do over here. The whole point of this is make sure that the question you pick, you can come up with something to write over here. You need to be able to record things to answer this question. Make sure that whatever you write here really does answer this question. At the end of this, if I've recorded the size of the potatoes and the weight of the potatoes, and then I record how many light bulbs that potato will light up, it will answer this question. Now, my answer may be no, I was wrong. The size of the potato doesn't change anything. They all lit up the same number of light bulbs, and that's fine. I've still determined the answer to a question. That is still a great science fair project. So you go do yours, come up with what you know, brainstorm a bunch of questions, but narrow it down to one, and then come up with how can you answer this question. And remember, if you can't think of anything to put here that answers this question, then you might have to change and pick a different question so that you can. The whole point is to be able to write something here that answers this question. And I'll see you tomorrow when we move on to the next step. I almost forgot to show you that once you are finished, you can save this just like we did yesterday by going to the export button here. And then you can save it as a PNG or a JPEG just like yesterday. I'm going to save it as a PNG. And I'm just going to leave all of these things just like they are. That should be fine. And when I click export, it will export it, and I can choose a file name. So I can say my questions for science fair, and I'm going to choose on my device. And so it saved it right down here at the bottom, my questions for science fair. And if I open that up, it opened on my other screen, but you can see I have a picture saved of that. So you can save that picture so that you have it to keep looking at. Again, just like yesterday, because we don't really have an account, we won't be able to change this. This is just a picture, but you will be able to look at it though. So that's how you can save